truth, and life. Here is the Brother Leon Show. You better recognize.
What's going on, Facebook Live family? It's been a minute. Let's put on some music. I think the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is that now that Valentine's Day is over, my question is, what did you learn about the table? What did you learn about Valentine's Day this year, the day after? What did you learn? The day before, what did you learn? Because a lot of triggering subjects about love, about relationships have all been centered around this table. And so the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is that the table is nothing more than a metaphor. And a lot of times when you hear people say or have that conversation and they ask, well, what do you bring to the table? And a person may say, I am the table. So when you hear that, you have to know that, number one, either they don't have a clue, or number two, that relationship is going to be one-sided. So the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is this, is that the table is something that you build together. And that's the God knows truth. I'm going to say it again. The table is something that you build together. And the crazy thing about it is that when you're building something, you have to have a work site. Seriously, you have to have a site where you're going to prepare this work. So you have to make sure that where you prepare the work or where you're going to be building it, that the work site is secure, that the work site is one of those type of things that it can hold wherever you want to build. So I look at it like this. If the work site is we're going to build this thing on our fellowship or on our friendship, then you have to realize that it needs to be sure. The foundation needs to be deep if you're going to build it and if it's going to have sustainability to hold the weight of what you're going to build on. And number two, you got to like the person who you building with. Because a lot of times, the one thing that I've seen is this, is that people get attracted to certain people because of their potential, because of some of the things that they can do. But yet, they're not the type of people who are willing to get in the trenches with you to build anything. They want to come to the ribbon cutting ceremony when the work is all done. And they want to benefit in that work. So you have to have discernment on who those people are. Because the one thing I'm going to tell you is this, is that relationships are prophetic as well as seasonal. And a lot of times you have people that the only seasons that they want is spring and summer. But you got to make sure that you are with a person who can discern and be with you not only in spring and summer, but also fall and winter. And a lot of times when that winter season hits, a lot of times people don't know what to do, because with winter, the ground is hard, nothing is growing, the days are shorter, the nights are longer, and a lot of people panic when it's nighttime. And that's the God knows truth. So I want to give you a little something. If you want to hear the entirety of this, I want you to go to my Instagram page. Or if you want to hear the entirety of this, go to the podcast. Because I've given the whole entirety of what I'm going to tell you. I've said this on my podcast. So I just want to give you a little bit of it. So, the one thing that I was talking about on Sunday is it love? And as a pastor, I'm expected to have answers, or at least bring in people that can equip you with the tools for success. So the one thing I'm going to tell you is this. As a pastor, I want you to have successful relationships. I don't want you to have a relationship that's like mine. Because even though my relationship may work for me, it may not work for you. Same thing with marriage. What I may require in my marriage, it works for me. It may not work for you. So I want you to get this out of your head that, you know, my marriage or my relationship needs to be like my pastor's. No, it doesn't. You need to have something that can work for the both of you. You need to have something where you're adding to one another, not subtracting, but adding. There needs to be multiplication in the relationship, because the one thing that is sure, God gives us people so that we can steward over them. Seriously, God sends people into our life, and we're supposed to act as a steward. We're supposed to add to them. He gives us our kids so that we can add to them. He gives us a spouse so that we can add to them, because the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, the blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he has no sorrow with it. So I'm going to tell you right now, the rich person is the one who has received from God and is able to add to these people's lives. Add to your wife's lives. You add to your husband's life. You add to your kids' lives. Seriously. Because you're sending your kids out to be a husband and a wife outside of your home. If you have daughters, you are preparing your daughter to be a wife to somebody else's household. If you are raising a son, you are preparing him to be a husband to somebody that's going to be coming into your house. And the one thing that you don't want your son-in-law or daughter-in-law, to call you up with tears, talking about what your son and daughter don't do. And that's the one thing that I want you to understand, is that we have to prepare our kids for when they are outside of our home, because they carry family legacy. And that's the God knows truth. They carry your name. So let's go in here. The Bible says in Malachi 2:7, for the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and they should seek the law at his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. So my goal as a pastor is to tell you the truth. Number one, the relationship table talk is a necessary discussion to test compatibility. I'm going to say it again. The relationship table talk is a necessary discussion to test compatibility. Number two, compatibility is only met when there are plans, measurements, and goals set that each person is happy with. Number three, once compatibility is established, then the work of building can begin. Number four, each person brings with them tools that are necessary to create the table that they wish to build, sit, and be served at. Number five, the table must be sturdy to hold whatever items you place upon it. Number six, the table mustn't be lopsided or have three legs. I'm going to say this again. The table mustn't be lopsided or have three legs. The table must be able to hold weight and be leveled. That's the one thing that you want. You don't want no lopsided table. You don't want no table that as soon as you put something on it, it falls apart. You got to make sure that it's sturdy so that it can hold up the weight. So you may ask, well, what are you talking about with all this tables talk? I'm talking about relationships. You got to have a relationship that can withstand the seasons of life. Because you have to understand and knows this, is that person who you meet right now, they're not going to be the same person a year from now or 5 months from now. And a lot of times we are not used to change. We're so used, she the fun girl on the cruise. The fun girl on the cruise may not be a lot of times the girl that comes back home with you. And you got to be okay with that. But I'm going to tell you this. Make sure that you create yourself a life that you don't need a vacation from. That's just some wisdom right there. Make sure that you create a space and a place that's so peaceful, that's so conducive to energizing you, where the choice of taking a vacation is on you. You can choose to do it or not, because your life is just that peaceful. So create a life that you don't need a vacation from. That's some wisdom. Let's go back in here. Number 7, the table must be large enough to accommodate both of us sitting across from each other, but not too large where we are not out of reach from one another. I'm going to say that again. The table must be large enough to accommodate both of us sitting across from each other, but not too large where we're out of reach from one another. And number 8, the table must be future-proofed to potentially add others who will eventually join you at the table. And that means kids. So you got to make sure that you future-proof your table. If you are even thinking about having kids, make sure that you future-proof it. Even the house that you buy, make sure that even if it's a starter house, make sure that it's large enough where if you just, had a night where y'all was just, having that wine, having that champagne, and next thing you know, 9 months later, here come the baby. Make sure you got enough room for the baby. Seriously. So future-proof your life. Future-proof the relationship, because kids are going to be sitting at the table with you. And that's the God knows truth. And we also have to get into this whole thing about blended families as well. Because trust and believe, when you are in a relationship and you got kids and the other person has kids, you're going to have some hard discussions, because we both come from two different upbringings. We both come from two different households. And you have to make up in your mind that you're not going to allow anything to disrupt or destroy the table, even though you got other people sitting there, even though you came with other people. So you got to make sure that that table is large enough that we don't lose each other, but also they can sit as well. So you got to future-proof it as well as protect it. And that's the whole thing about getting the order right and getting the flow right. Because a lot of times we'll put our kids before God, or we'll put our kids before our spouse, and it shouldn't be that way. And then you wonder why there's disharmony in the home, because things are out of order. So when we begin to have the table talks, begin to know the following. Number one, they genuinely need to like you. I'm going to say that again. Before you start talking about the table, they need to genuinely like you. If they don't genuinely like you, they can't build with you, and they definitely can't love you. So make sure that they like you. Number two, no one person is the table. That girl, as fine as she is not the table. That guy, as fine as he is not the table. Number three, no one person should bring all the tools to the work site where you're going to be building the table. So one person can't bring all the tools. Both of you have to bring tools. And the one tool that you need the most is a level, because things have to be level. You're going to need a hammer. You're going to need a saw. Seriously. You're going to need some sandpaper. Smooth out the rough edges. But one person can't come with all the tools. One person can't bring all the decoration. Seriously. One person can't bring all the utensils. All the plates, all the bowls, all the cups. One person can't do all of that. So let's go back in here. Sex isn't the whole table, neither should it be the goal of building the table. I'll say it again. Sex isn't the whole table, neither should it be the goal of building the table. Number 5, money isn't the whole table, neither should it be the goal of building the table. I'm going to say that again. Money is not the whole table. Sex is not the whole table. Money isn't the whole table, neither should it be the goal of building the table. And a lot of us are tripping off of this whole sex and money thing. And the crazy thing about it is that it takes more than just sex for a relationship. It takes more than just money for a relationship. It takes more than just love for a relationship. And a lot of us think that love is unconditional. Love is unconditional, but relationships aren't. And Eden Adele said that. The sage. I want you guys to go to her site because she can give you some sound wisdom. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to quote her quote again. Love is unconditional, but relationships are not. That's the one thing that you need to know, because a lot of people feel like, oh, I want unconditional love. You're going to get that from God, but you ain't going to get it in a relationship. And the crazy thing is that we feel as though that we can just, some women feel as though that they can turn their femininity off and on. You got to meet this criteria, this condition in order for me to be feminine. Or some guys, yo, you need to do this, and this in order for me to give you traditional relationship, traditional values. But I'm going to tell you this. You need to make up in your mind, do you want traditional values in a traditional relationship, or do you want independence? Because I'm going to tell you, some of you want traditional, but you want to mix it with independence, and some of that independence is toxic as hell. Seriously. And that's the God knows truth. It's like this. The one thing about the table is that we both are going to enjoy the table, but along the line, we're going to be serving one another. One person is going to sit down and be served. Another person is going to be sitting down and serving, but we are going to enjoy the satisfaction of eating together because of what we brought to the table. And then we sit down together and enjoy it. You can't have a relationship where you want me to do all the serving. You want me to serve you, but you don't want me to eat with you, and you don't want me to sit with you. What type of relationship is that? What type of relationship where you want the benefit of what I bring to the table, but I can't sit next to you and I can't eat with you? That is definitely toxic, and that is what is out here in some of these relationships. Because I'm going to tell you, you need to learn how to listen. You need to begin to have the hard conversations so that you can know. Because I'm going to tell you, as good as you are, you can't turn a red flag green. And that's the God knows truth. I learned it myself the hard way. Seriously. Thinking we going to these services, thinking that deliverance is happening, and you can't take a red flag and turn it green. I'm serious. I thought that I could faith it out, I could pray it out, I could go to the deliverance conference and do that, and it'll be cast out. Nah, man. It's just, the one thing that I realized, we can pray for our spouses, but God is not going to make them love us. I'm serious. God is not going to make a person love you, especially the way that you want to be loved. God is not going to make a person love you. You can pray all day long. Your prayers are working for you. But when it comes to you being loved, that is one prayer that it ain't going to work. Because I've seen people fast. I've seen people, unless God deals with their heart and their eyes are open, if they choose not to love you, if they choose to walk out the door, you got to be okay with that. Seriously. And it's not anything that you've done. A lot of us, we crucify ourselves and we beat ourselves up because we didn't get the outcome that we were believing for. But I'm going to tell you this. You may not reap where you have sown and into the people that you've sown into, but you're going to reap what you sow. And that's the God knows truth. So, your prayers and your work and your labor of love are not in vain. It's just that you're going to reap a harvest someplace else. It may not be with that person. And you got to be okay with walking away. Because I see too many Christian people stay in toxic relationships for the sake of faith, for the sake of doing Ephesians. I done seen too many men kill themselves over Ephesians 5. And they killing themselves for a toxic woman. They killing themselves for a woman with no accountability or responsibility. And then the crazy thing about it is that they up here and died, and she ain't even willing to pray for him. But she okay with watching him kill himself. So I'm going to tell you, men, some of the stuff that we get taught in church. But in the name of Jesus, it's going to be a change. And that's the God that's truth. Let's get back in here. When we sit at the table to dine, there are the following. Number 1, the appetizer. Number 2, the full course meal. Number 3, desserts. Number 4, coffee or tea if you happen to stay that long. So, let me just say this. Point 1, we are the ones who serve, sit, and eat together. Point number 2, no one person should do all the sitting, eating, or serving. Point number 3, you can't say I want the benefits of what you serve, but I don't want you to sit or eat with me. So, I'm going to just say this. We're going to be sitting We're going to be serving each other, and we're both going to get the satisfaction from the table. But the one thing I will say is this, is that you can't sit up here and just bring dessert and coffee and not even attempt to do appetizers in a full course. You have to make the attempt. Now, some people feel as though that all I'm bringing to the table is the dessert, which may be the sex. But I'm going to tell you, yo, it might be good, but it's not the full meal. And that's the God knows truth. So let's go back in here. And the one thing that I want you to know is this, is that when it comes to this whole thing about the table, and the whole thing about what we put on the table and how we benefit from the table, this is not takeout. This ain't McDonald's. This ain't 2 for $4, 2 for $5. This ain't Checkers. This is dine-in only. This is gourmet food that you are preparing. So, and the crazy thing about it is that we expect to have gourmet food at fast food prices and speed. And the one thing I want you to know is this. A lot of us, the fast food experience is we get stuff, and then the crazy thing about us getting stuff, we realize, look in the bag like, man, they done forgot my fries. Or why are my fries cold? Seriously. So you can't sit up here and expect to have gourmet food with fast food prices and speed. And that's the one thing about relationships. You got to make sure that your relationship is deep and wide enough so that it can hold you. It will have sustainability because, number one, the storms of life are going to come. And a lot of times people are not ready for all of that. That's the God knows truth. They're not ready for the storms of life. And this is why we need knowledge. This is why we need teaching. This is why we need discipline. Because I'm going to tell you, man, Christian people feel like, yo, I'm saved. We saved. We going to be exempt from the problems of life. Man, please. The devil came before the Lord, and the Lord said, have you considered my servant Job? So what makes you think that you're exempt? What makes you think that, just because you have faith, that you ain't going to face a storm? Paul faced a storm. You're going to face a storm. You're going to face seasons. So, man, wake up. Ooh, let's go back in here. You can't have a good relationship without putting in the work and time to make it good, solid, and without paying the price for it. You're going to pay the price. And that's the God knows truth. All relationships come with a cost, even bad ones. The cost of relationship is time and the resources that come with them. I'm going to say it again. The cost of relationship is time and resources that come with them. And the one thing I'm going to tell you is that, God will redeem the time. But I'm going to tell you this. You can't go back in time. Seriously. If it was a lesson that you needed to learn, you're going to learn it in the present because you experienced it in the past. But you can't get that past time back. Seriously. Listen to that song. Make Sure That You're Sure by Stevie Wonder. Do that. Listen to that song. It's on the Jungle Fever soundtrack. And I'm going to say this again. The cost of a relationship is the time and the resources that come with you. Next point. The biggest detriment to us as people is we believe the lie that we don't need each other. Seriously, we believe that lie. We as black people believe the lie that we don't need each other. Black man, you need that black woman. Black woman, you need the black man. Seriously. But we have believed the lie that we don't need each other. We believe the lie that, black men are toxic. We believe the lie that black women are gold diggers. We believe that lie. But the one thing I'm going to tell you is that no lie is true. And you have to begin to look at what people are telling you. Look at the ones who are, promoting the lie. Look at the ones who are promoting even some of these things that you hear about relationships. Seriously. Because at the end of the day, you want something that's going to work for you. And a lot of people, man, they are spreading toxicity like it ain't nothing. Seriously. It seems like those who are promoting good relationships and partnerships, their voice is very minimal. But the ones who are promoting this whole toxic femininity and feminism, and you don't need a man, and misandry, they the ones that got the loudest voice. Seriously. And all of them saying the same thing. All these niggas ain't shit. Yeah, I said it. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I want you to know is this, is that one person's experience is not the whole collective. I'm going to say that again. One person's individual experience is not the whole collective. And I'm going to say this. How is it? I'm going to put you in an apple orchard. There are 100 trees in this apple orchard. And on each tree is 50 apples. 10 of them are bad. My question to you is, how is it that you keep picking all the bad apples when you are in an apple orchard with 100 trees? How do you keep picking all the bad apples? Because in all honesty, the common denominator in some of y'all's situation is you. You need to ask yourself, what is it about me that I keep picking up these bad apples? And a lot of people don't want to answer that question. You have to ask yourself, what is it? Is it because it's an easy grab? Is it because I'm not willing to check it over fully? Seriously. Because if you bite into it, ain't no telling what's in it. But sometimes for the good stuff, you're going to have to reach. Sometimes for the good stuff, you're going to have to put forth some effort. So you can't sit up here and blame all the apples, because you're the one in a variety of apples, you picked all the bad ones. You were in an orchard with 100 trees, and you managed, out of all these 100 trees, you picked the bad ones. Seriously. So you can't sit up here and bite into a bad apple that you picked and then say all these niggas ain't shit. You can't do that, because you're the one that picked them. When it comes to female relationships, you control the sex. It ain't no dude out here that can Jedi mind trick you. Please. No dude out here can Jedi mind trick you and trick you into having sex. Not unless he done on some date rape stuff. Now, I ain't even talking about that, and I don't condone it or promote it. But at the end of the day, you can't sit up here and blame these dudes who you lay down with. Because you have access to birth control. You have access to the day after pill. You have access to give them access to have sex with you. It's like this. You the car keys, the gas, the tires, and the GPS. We as men, we control the relationship dynamic. You as women control the sexual dynamic. We as men, we can say, yo, this my girl, this my wife. And we can follow up with that. You control the sexual dynamic, and you can determine whether or not you carry our child, our seed. Because if you decide that you want to abort my baby, ain't nothing I can do about that. Same thing is when you decide to carry it and take me to child support court, ain't nothing I can do about that either. Seriously. So at the end of the day, we got to begin to be responsible and accountable for what we do. Seriously. Then be accountable and responsible, because I'm going to tell you, yo, sexual energy is like currency. You want to make sure that you have a good investment where you can get a return. You don't want to be, having babies or having a baby with a woman who's just looking at you as a check. You don't want to keep having baby after baby after baby after baby. You can't spend time with them. Because I'm going to tell you, there's more to a child than just sending a check. We need the check, but they need your time and presence. Seriously. They need to see your face. And so women, I'm going to tell you, as good as that brother looks, yo, how does he treat his other kids? Seriously, how does he treat his other kids? Because as good as your cookies might be, if he ain't doing right by the first baby mama, what you think he gonna do to you? Seriously. Or if he taking leave his baby mama to go have kids with you or take care of your kids, it's something wrong with that picture. Seriously. So at the end of the day, we gotta start making better decisions with our genitals, men and women. Seriously. And I ain't gonna lie, man. I get the fact that we want to blame everybody, but we don't look at ourselves. We don't look at the part that we play. We don't look at the accountability that we need to have or the responsibility that we need to have. Seriously, we just want to blame somebody instead of ourselves. We blame people by their actions, and we, judge ourselves by our intentions. Seriously. Judging people by what they do, judging ourselves by intentions. Well, I meant to do what you didn't do. And I'm going to tell you this. If you're going to be the type of person that's going to be raw dogging and allowing people to run up in you all raw, you better make sure you got condoms on hand. And that's the God knows truth. Make sure that you got condoms on hand, because I'm going to tell you, if you having a baby right now, you blessed. Because there's a whole lot of other stuff out here that's going to make you cry and make you want to kill somebody, especially if you get a sexually transmitted disease like herpes that you can't get rid of. And then you got to have that talk. And then people going to look at you like you was loose. Seriously, they're going to look at you and put all types of labels on you. So my question is, you can avoid it. You can avoid it right now. Just make better decisions and know that, have your kids in marriage. Seriously, have your kids in marriage. Make sure that you make the right decisions, because I'm going to tell you, you don't know what you're getting when you're laying down with that person. You don't know who they've been with. You don't know what their history is. You don't know what's in their DNA. You don't know what's in their spirit. You don't know what's in their heart. And a lot of times, the exchange is an unequal exchange. And then you wonder why, what's going on with me? Because, you done gave them something and they done took something out of you. I'm going to tell you that. I can't be more plainer than that. They call them soul ties. But you have good ones and you have dark ones. Seriously, you have good ones and you have bad ones. You have ones that bring light and you have ones that bring darkness. So, be selective, because sex is a serious thing and we trivialize it too much. I'm telling you. The biggest detriment to us is we believe the lie that we do not need each other. We as humans can function to a degree independently depending upon the task. However, we as humans are dependent upon each other for survival. Men and women are dependent upon one another to continue humanity. God has always said, be fruitful and multiply. So I'm going to tell you the lies. The lies we believe is the lie of independence. The lies we believe is the lie that men are not necessary and women are not necessary. The lie that we believe is that it's all men's fault. The lies that we believe is it's all women's fault. The lies that we believe is that it's the black man, that the black man is no good. The lie that we believe is the black woman is no good. The lie that we believe is that we can't have successful homes and children without each other. You gotta have you can have a successful home with each other, because statistics say that on average, children who grow up in families where both biological parents in a low conflict marriage are better off in a number of ways than children who grow up in single step or cohabitating parent households. This should be relationship goals. To have our kids grow up, us in the same house, low stress, so that they can succeed. I'm telling you right now. The Pew Research found that Protestant individuals, anyone identified themselves as non-Catholic but Christian, included 74% of all Christians, and had a divorce rate of approximately 51%. So out of 74% of people proclaiming to be Christian, 51% of them there's a 51% divorce rate amongst us Christians. And so that is a sampling of 4,752. Wives are the one who most often file for divorce at 66% on average. That figure has soared nearly to 75% in some years. And so let me give you this, and this is crazy. The following states have the highest divorce rates in the United States. Arkansas, number 1. Number 2, Oklahoma. Number 3, Nevada. And they always trying to marry people in Vegas. Number 4, New Mexico. Number 5, Kentucky. Number 6, Wyoming. Number 7, Delaware. Delaware is number 7. Lord have mercy. Number 8, Utah. Number 9, Kansas. Number 10, Alabama/Missouri. States with the lowest divorce rates. Number 1 is Maine. Number 2, District of Columbia. Number 3, South Dakota. Number 4, Pennsylvania. Number 5, New York. Number 6, Illinois. Number 7, New Jersey. Number 8, Iowa. Number 9, Wisconsin. Number 10, Massachusetts. Yo, you better go to Martha's Vineyard and you better go to the Inkwell so you can have some restoration and you can reconnect. That's the God knows truth. And the crazy thing about all of this is that in politics, people are always talking about, and a lot of Republicans are always talking about New York, Chicago, Camden, Philly. And the crazy thing about it, they talk about the crime, but when it comes to Republicans, they are about family values. But these are the states with the lowest divorce rates. And a lot of times, the ones you're hearing it from are coming from the states with the highest. Seriously. So don't let nobody take it down you and say, oh yeah, they lost, they this, and they that. Man, please. At least we staying together. But the one thing I'm going to tell you is this. You have to do the comparison of families during the civil rights versus today. We got more today, but we're not staying together. Back then, Jim Crow, civil rights, you had a mother, you had a father, you had 2 kids under the same roof. You had parents under the same roof, and sometimes grandparents under the same roof. But today, we have labeled the family to a single female and 2, maybe 3 kids. The man is not even in the picture. And the one thing that I was discussing with some people is this, is that how did the black woman find out about government assistance? She got it from a white woman. She got that information from a white woman. She got it from a feminist. And the one thing I'm going to tell you is this, is that the same people that give you the information to put the man out of the house are the same people who are now talking about you having 6, 7 kids. Being on EBT, calling you a welfare queen. But they're not saying that about the white woman. They're not saying that about the white woman that they call poor white trash. They're not saying that, but they say that about us and then give us that label. So I'm telling you today, yo, we got to begin to come together and put the man back in the house, and we got to begin to make each other's spouse. We got to begin to have husbands and wives. Seriously, loving each other, submitting one to another, covering one another. Because this is about our kids. At the end of the day, it's about our kids' survival and future. What will we give them? The greatest thing that you can give your kids is the example of a successful relationship. That's what you give your kids. That's what you can give them. Let them see you work through problems, but also let them see you giving PDA, public displays of love, sleeping in the same bed. Yeah, let them hear you having sex, because at least they know my mom and dad is in the house. They might hate hearing it, but at least they know y'all together. So I'm going to tell you right now, man, watch who you listen to. Because I'm going to tell you, man, the prince of the power of the air is in these airwaves. I'm telling you. It's for real. You may not think it's not, but it's for real. And if they can take and control the narrative, they're going to control it, and you're going to believe it because you think that it's true, because it's on TV, it's on social media. You better find out what works for you. Seriously, you got to be a free thinker and find out what works for you. So let me read this about black marriage and then I'm done. Over the last few decades, marriage has been a declining institution among all Americans, and this decline is even more evident in the black community. In 2019, only 30% of African Americans were married compared to 48% of all Americans have. 50% of African Americans have never been married compared to 34% of all Americans. After viewing the available data, we can see although fewer black women are now married, more black women than black men have been married at least once. This is because of a higher percentage of black women are divorced and widowed than men. And also in 2019, just under half or 48% of black women had never been married, which is from 44% in 2008 and 42.7% in 2005. We gotta begin to wake up. Seriously. So you can't sit up here and say, it ain't no good men out here. It's good men out here. You done friend zoned them. It's good men out here, but you done divorced them. It's good men out here, but some of these men have died trying to make you happy. Seriously. So we gotta wake up and realize that we need one another. Women, you need to tell your men, I need for you to live. I need for you to be here. I need for you to come home. Seriously. And men, you need to be like, yo, baby, I love you. I appreciate you. I honor you. I'm covering you. I'm protecting you. Because you bring me peace. And I'm here to cover you and these kids. And this is what we got to begin to do, man. There's a whole lot of stuff out here. But I am determined that the platform that God has given me, we're going to be blowing that mess apart. These false narratives, these lies, and these labels, I ain't going to lie, man, they all over Clubhouse. Seriously. And people that talk like me and talk like other people, they trying to shadow ban them all over the place. But at the end of the day, you can lie to yourself, you can lie to me, you can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to consequence. And I'm going to end it on that. You can't lie to consequence. Because at the end of the day, our consequences are putting us here. Because ain't nobody going to fight for us. We're the only community that says that about one another, that we don't need one another. You don't hear that coming from the white community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community. You don't hear that. It's just ours. In some kind of way, it's getting over even into Africa. It's us. But I'm going to tell you, man, I'm going to stand in the gap. Because God needs somebody to stand in the gap and to make up the hedge. That's what we got to do. So, guys, I love you. Peace.
Walk in the truth that makes you free every day. Follow Brother Leon on all social media outlets.
All right, Facebook Live. I love you guys. Peace. Catch me on Instagram.